Hello everyone, it's Infinity Break, coming at you today with a little bit of a unique theory. Now, before I begin, I would like to apologize to Jonathan Szuhai for taking so long to get to this theory. It is a very well-crafted theory, and this is where I'm getting into the second point. I have to give you guys a little bit of a disclaimer. This theory could be considered controversial, I suppose you could say, because it's a little bit out there. By no means are we saying that this is 100% canon. This is just fun theorizing and speculation, and it's a very well done and well thought out theory on the end of Jonathan Szuhai, which is the only reason I'm really sharing it with you. I pick a lot of theories that are good from you guys, and this one, the reason it took me so long to get to it, is because it's kind of intimidating because it's a little out there, but it's also a little bit advanced. It has a lot of thought put into it, and it's a little I suppose you could say it delves into a lot of games that not even I have gone into. Sometimes it's going to be looking into games like Wolfenstein. It's going to be looking into a lot of other Bethesda titles like Doom and Commander Keen and Call of Cthulhu: Dark Corners of the Earth, and there's a bunch of stuff. But this whole theory is going to be called the Bethesda Shared Universe Theory. And without wasting any more of your time, I'm going to do my best to interpret Jonathan Szuhai's notes and emails and everything for you guys to enjoy here. Okay, part 1 of the Bethesda Shared Universe Theory videos is going to be about Yagrum Bagarn. I'm going to pronounce his name wrong 20 different times. I know who he is. And of course, how he connects to the Wolfenstein, Doom, and Commander Keen series. Now, before I get into exactly what this theory is, let me explain the context, especially considering the Elder Scrolls, what I know. So, Yagrum Bagarn is the last living dwarf by the time of Morrowind, the third installment in the Elder Scrolls franchise. He is, like I said, the last living dwarf, and the circumstances behind this is during the war between the Dunmer, or at the time I should say the Chinmer, and the dwarves, was ended with the dwarves actually performing an art known as tonal architecture, or at least what I assume to be tonal architecture, that destroyed or wiped out all of the dwarves from existence. Everybody except Yagrum Bagarn. Now, I have a theory as to how this works. He also has his own theories in the game if you talk to him. But what I understand is that Yagrum Bagarn was not in the plane of Mundus at the time of the dwarves being wiped from existence. What happened with Yagrum Bagarn was that he was out in the Outer Realms. He tells you himself when you go to talk to him where he's sitting at in the Morrowind. He is currently, I suppose you could say, quarantined off from everybody as he has the Corpus disease. And you'd have to look into the lore and the story of Morrowind to understand a little bit more of that, but just understand that all you need to know for this theory is that he is the last living dwarf, and he was gone during the events that wiped out the dwarves back during the Chinmer Dwarven War. What happened with Yagrum Bagarn was, like he said, he was out in the Outer Realms, and my theory as to what wiped out the dwarves was the idea that at the very end of the Chinmer and Dwarven War, at Red Mountain, when the dwarves were cornered and were about to be defeated, one of the dwarf leaders, if I'm not mistaken, it was Kagranak, in fact, the creator of Keening, Sunder, and Wraithguard, was up against the wall with Lorkhan's heart and Sunder in hand, and struck the heart of Lorkhan, which is the heart of the god of the world, if I am not mistaken, as Lorkhan is Nirn, if I'm not mistaken, but again, a lot of complicated nonsense. In other words, he used a tool of tonal architecture, which is Sunder, which is a weapon you can get in Morrowind, and struck the heart of Lorkhan in a form of tonal architecture, destroying, or wiping, I should say, all of dwarven kind from existence. What happened exactly, in my mind, is that, like I said, he uses a tool of tonal architecture and strikes the heart of a god, which, if you don't understand, the hearts, or the gods of the world can do whatever they want. There is no laws that bind them to anything. There are specific laws that are put in place later on, but at the time, tonal architecture with the heart of a god, limitless possibilities can happen. My theory is that tonal architecture, and the way it works, is that there is a song of life, and you insert or remove notes from that song of life to manipulate the area around you, or just the way the world works. It's kind of a similar way to how the Thuum works in Skyrim. you are shouting, you are inserting a note, and you are manifesting fire, force, you are making yourself invincible, you are slowing time, you are manipulating the essence of reality around you. And the way that tonal architecture works in this way is that what happened with Kagranak when he struck the heart of Lorcan, he is instinctively at this moment, unknowingly, removing the dwarves from existence. He completely wiped the notes, which are the dwarves at this point, from the Song of Life. And the only reason Yagrum Bagarn was not actually affected by this was because my little theory is that these Songs of Life only affect certain planes of reality. There is a song of Mundus, and there is a song of the Planes of Oblivion, and then there are songs of the Outer Realms and other such. Each plane of existence is its own song, and when the heart was struck, he removed all the dwarves from that plane of existence, from that song. And Yagrum Bagarn was safe because he was not, his note was currently not in that song. He was in another place, in another song. So this is how Yagrum Bagarn was not wiped from existence. This kind of goes into its own little theory, but that's a little bit of context as to why Yagrum Bagarn was not wiped from existence and is currently present in Morrowind to talk to us. Now that you have a little context on Yagrum Bagarn, I'm going to be reading off a lot of what Jonathan Szuhai has written me in emails. Again, this is very well thought on his end, and like I said, it's all speculation and interesting, but he put a lot of effort and a lot of thought into this, and it's actually very well done. I'm reading through it, and like I said, I was intimidated because it's so well thought out, and I'm not entirely sure what a lot of it is, or at least when I first read it. And as I've looked into it, I have slightly understood it a lot more, and I've done my research, obviously, before making this video. But holy cow, is there a lot of information, so stay with me here while I try to break it down and read off exactly what Jonathan Szuhai is saying here. So, Jonathan Szuhai's theory reads like this in the email. Yagrum Bagarn is said to have been away in the Outer Realms when the rest of the Dwemer disappeared, hence why he didn't vanish like the rest of his kind. I already explained this. However, it was never explained what those Outer Realms are, nor whether it was Oblivion, Aetherius, or somewhere else entirely. Since the Dwemer were agnostic in nature and didn't care much for gods, it is doubtful that Yagrum would have considered going to either Aetherius or Oblivion. Now he makes a good point there. The Dwemer do not believe in gods. In fact, by the time of Morrowind, or should I say by the time of the Chinmer-Dunmer-Dwemer War, I should say, they are actually trying to build their own brass god, the Numidium. Numidium was basically a middle finger to the Nine Divines, or should I say the other gods, the Aedra, the people that, the gods that were worshipped by most of the people of Tamriel. And they didn't like gods, they didn't like believing in gods, they were very scientific, very magically inclined people. That's why they were the most advanced. They didn't spend time worshipping petty beings or whatever, they focused on themselves. A lot like atheists and how they believe in science. The dwarves were very similar in this regard. So it does make sense that Yagrum probably wouldn't be looking to Oblivion or to Aetherius because he wouldn't be trying to find anything about the gods. He would be trying to find his own thing that the dwarves actually believed in. They wanted nothing to do with the Nine, with the Aedra, or with the Daedra. They were their own thing. This is exactly why they got into conflict with the Dunmer, or should I say Chinmer at the time. Jonathan continues, the in-game book, The Monomyth, does explain that Erebus contains the multitude realms of Aetherius and Oblivion, as well as the other less structured forms. I believe that these less structured forms include smaller and less developed dimensions that we see in Aetherius and Oblivion. This would be ripe for a curious dwarf to explore. One of these dimensions could very well be Earth's, or the solar system, like he's saying. See, the realm of Mundus is very much like a solar system. It is, in the center, it actually works like a very old Roman layout of how the world or the universe used to be. And we used to think that the Earth was the center of everything. Well, it works a very similar way, and I'll show you a picture. Nirn is in the center, and the 9 divines are planets surrounding it, and then of course, there is the sun there. Now, the way it works is very confusing, but Nirn and Mundus and other such things work very much like a solar system, so you could see the realms as sort of like other solar systems, other universes. So it's very interesting to think about it like that way, because if you go into the outer realms, you could very much find our solar system, which is what this theory is banking on. Jonathan Szuhai continues, Now for the Dahad Yakut. I could be pronouncing that wrong, sue me. They are ancient society that has developed technology which is far more advanced than anything we've seen in modern times, with the intention of becoming closer to God. This technology and its architecture are very similar to what we see in Dwemer ruins throughout the Elder Scrolls series. The underwater vault in Wolfenstein: The New Order is a prime example. I have to agree, he put a link in the video to a Let's Play playthrough of someone going through the ruins. I've never played Wolfenstein: The New Order, but I had to do a lot of research, and after this I might have to play it, because it does actually look pretty good. But the point is, these ruins, these underwater vault that he showed me, were strikingly similar to Dwemer ruins, not only in the metal that is used, but the carvings and the tools and the gears and the pots. Everything that was in there was very reminiscent of Dwemer ruins, and I don't know if this is just a simple design or whatever, but it made me bat an eye like, Bethesda, is this another nod to the Elder Scrolls? Because, my god, I mean, I'll show you screenshots. These are actually pretty damn close. I'll put up stuff side by side. This is really interesting, honestly. Again, Jonathan continues. Furthermore, Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus, implies that the Da'at Yakut technology came from aliens, and interdimensional travel can definitely be considered alien. I have to agree. I mean, if we're looking at it in a scientific standpoint with the universe's structure in mind, if we look and we base Nirn's realms and Mundus and everything based off of that, each individual plane has its own planets and everything, and our plane could have its own planets. We consider aliens, obviously, beings from another planet that are foreign to us. Imagine going on a spaceship and landing on Nirn and finding Dark Elves and Argonians. You would say they're aliens, right? I know I would be saying they're aliens. But this definitely matches up from what he's saying so far, in my opinion. And we reach the end of the email from Jonathan Szuhai, as he continues by saying this leads to two possibilities. Number one is Yagrum Bagarn came into contact with an extraterrestrial civilization on some specified planet, likely Mars, since not only is it the closest, but both Commander Keen and Doom series, which share a universe with Wolfenstein, establish that Mars has its own native population, and his presence influenced some sort of development of technology similar to the kind he used. The aliens eventually travel to Earth, where they come into contact with the people that would form the Dahad Yakut Society, who then built their own tech based off of what they received from the aliens. Possibility number two is that Yagrum Bagarn went to Earth himself, left behind some equipment, and the people that formed the Dahad Yakut Society later found it and reverse engineered it into what we see in the Wolfenstein games. Both of these possibilities are very well thought out, but he adds another note which I find actually kind of funny and very true. Either way, it would add a whole new layer of irony to the Wolfenstein series. Not only do the Nazis use technology made by a Jewish society to win World War II, but said Jewish society created their technology to be closer to God, while basing it on technology of a civilization that doesn't even worship gods. He has a very good point at the end there. It would add an entirely new layer of irony to the games. It actually made me smile a little bit reading that, because it's true. The more and more I understood it, the more and more it made sense, and it would be a fun little joke if somehow this was true. Which, like I said, the possibilities of it actually being true are very slim. I highly doubt that Bethesda actually intends to make a huge shared universe, but this theory is very fun to think of and very interesting to look at nonetheless. And it does add a lot of hidden meanings when you do put these connections together. It is actually very interesting. And like I said, that concludes the email from Jonathan Szuhai. He has put a lot of effort into this theory, and this is only part one, as he has many more ideas as to how Bethesda has connected their universes in some way, shapes, or forms. And like I said, I keep saying it because I'm trying to be safe, and not to be rude to Jonathan. I'm pretty sure he understands that this might not actually be canon, but it is still amazingly interesting nonetheless how many connections there are within the Bethesda universe. The connections between Wolfenstein, Commander Keen, and the Doom series are actually interesting in of itself, and I'll explain it really quick in case you don't know. So according to Tom Hall and John Romero, several id Software series are in fact connected. William J. Blazkowicz is the original character of Wolfenstein: The New Order. His offspring is Commander Keen, or William J. Blazkowicz II. And the Doom Marine is also an offspring of William J. Blazkowicz and William J. Blazkowicz II. So the franchises are connected. Now, of course, this is only referring to the id Software titles. This did not apply to the new updated version that wasn't made by Bethesda. That one wasn't related in any way, shape, or form, at least not on face value. It was definitely not confirmed to be connected. But we do not know, considering Bethesda right now and how they are working with both Wolfenstein and Doom, how whether or not they will be connected or not. The same rules could still apply, and it would actually make sense for Bethesda to connect them, as you can see how popular shared universes are in today's day and age, especially if you consider the MCU to be one of them. It would actually probably be smart to put a little nod in the game to make, William J. Blazkowicz actually be the great ancestor of Doom Marine. Though, technically, it also might not make sense considering how Doom Marine is also having his own lore and other nonsense. But then again, the new Bethesda game series might not be applied in this theory. It could always just be referring to the id Software timeline. Either way, it's still cool to speculate and theorize nonetheless. Bethesda can do whatever they want with their IPs. So for all we know, the next game, whether it be Wolfenstein or Doom, could have whatever references in it to whatever franchise, connecting them even further. But it is still interesting to see how each universe is connected with these little Easter eggs nonetheless. This theory has been concluded. It's finally done, and I feel ashamed to say I was intimidated by it. It actually was kind of fun to talk about, and actually wasn't that hard. Now the only problem is getting it edited and getting it out to you guys tomorrow. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. And I'm sorry again, Jonathan Szuhai. Personally, I feel very disappointed that it took me this long to make this theory for you. Next video on this topic will be done way faster, especially since I already have dipped my toes into the water. I'm ready to jump in head full force. So, yes, look forward to a part 2, part 3, part 4, because there are many more topics we're going to dive into in the future. And if you have any theories that you want me to cover in the future, just let me know. I am happy to cover anything for you. The next theory is going to be by a wonderful person who commented on one of my last videos, and I'm actually looking forward to making that one as well. I hope to see you guys in the future, and for right now, say it with me now. Play well, eat well, and of course live well, friends. I hope you guys go out there and strive to break infinity, and I hope you have a nice day, night, evening, wherever and whenever you're at. This has been Infinity Break saying, take it easy now.